One of the other common areas I think that people are struggling with, you speak to a lot of young men, train a lot of young men. What's your advice to young men that are struggling with direction in life?
Like, there are a bunch of young men out there and they are getting after it. Whether they're linemen, whether they're on oil rigs, whether they're software developers, like there's all kinds of people that are out there crushing. And so when I hear about people that, what'd you say, are lost or?
Directionless.
Directionless? Yeah, what do you want to do with your life? I guess that's my question. What do you want to do with your life? Because you got one life. It's going by quickly, and this is something that years ago I spent a good chunk of my 30s training MMA fighters. And we had a jiu-jitsu gym, we had an MMA gym, and so in the beginning, when a potential fighter would come in and they'd be 22 years old, and I'd say, "Hey, how old are you?" And they'd say, "I'm 22," and they'd say, "I want to fight. There's a fight card coming up. I want to be on it." And I was like, I'd tell them, "Listen, you got plenty of time. Like, get better, train, up your skills." And I said that for probably 3 or 4 years. And then after 3 or 4 years, when guys would come in, I would start telling them the opposite, which is, you need to get on it. You need to be in here every day. You're almost out of time. You're 22, you're late. Because I realized I saw a lot of people that didn't have any sense of urgency in their life. And when you don't have a sense of urgency, things aren't going to happen. You need to make things happen, as we already discussed. They're not just going to happen for you. You're not going to become a good fighter unless you make it happen. And you're not going to do anything in life unless you make it happen. So if you feel like right now you're looking around and you're lost or directionless, I would take about 15 minutes and figure out what the hell you want to do with your life, and I would start getting after it. So that's my advice. Take 15 minutes, figure out something that you're into, and go crush that thing and make it happen.
For better or worse, life is really short. And it's this ridiculous irony that you only see in retrospect how short it is, right? It doesn't feel short at the time, but I bet when you get to your 80s and you look back, you think, holy fuck, that went by in no time at all.
Yeah, I had that conversation with my mom a couple of years ago, and she said, I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Talking on the phone, and she said, "Oh, it's been a pretty rough couple months because this person died, this person died, this person died." And she's almost 80 or something like that. And so I said to her, "Mom, all those people that you're talking about that are 80, 85, 87 years old, like, they've had a full run at it." I'm like, I've buried my friends that are 27 years old, 30 years old, 31 years old. Like, that's horrible. And so people that got this full run, man, be thankful that they got that full run.
It is, I understand why some people have degrees of regret around that, because they think, like, I don't know where that time went. I wish I'd known this thing sooner. But again, if action's the antidote to anxiety, the only way that you can work out what it is that you need to do is by hurrying up and doing it. And again, if the fear of failure, the fear of the unknown is worse than the actual thing, it all ties together. Yep. I think everything that we've spoken about. Like,
yeah, you're going to blow some stuff. You're going to make some bad decisions. You're going to screw some things up. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, those make for good stories, man. Mm-hmm. Go get them. Go make them happen. Mm-hmm. And right now, if you're a dude and you're 22 years old and you feel like you're directionless, get your shit together, man, and go start making things happen.
You spent a good bit of your career in situations that would cause most people to feel a ton of fear. I think that fear is related to this confidence, conviction in my decisions. What have you learned about how to deal with and overcome fear?
Go. When all that fear that's in your head all the what ifs and the scenarios that you create inside your own mind that are way worse than anything that is actually going to happen, they all disappear when you go. That is the moment that can last 1,000,000 years, is waiting to go. And I found I'm pretty good at it now, where, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what that is, and I'm going, and then that's it. And once you go, driving, even, speaking of being in combat, if we were driving to a target and so you're going to go hit a target somewhere, and driving to the target, the closer you get, you're thinking about all the things that go wrong, all the bad things that are going to happen, all this stuff. When one of my guys gets wounded, what if they have IEDs in the yard? Like, there's a bunch of things going through your mind. Once you stop, get out of the vehicle, all those things go away. Yep. And you're doing the thing, and you're not worried about it anymore. And so let's just go. That's the answer.
So action is an antidote to anxiety then.
Man, action's an antidote to all kinds of problems. Yeah. Even going back to the obstacle course, which I think the tallest obstacle on the obstacle course might be the cargo net. I don't know how tall it is, but it's tall enough that you are not going to be in good shape if you fall. And you have to climb up the cargo net, and then you have to go over the top of it and then climb back down the other side. If you're freaked out or you're scared, you're going to get stuck there. And there's guys that do get stuck. They don't climb over the top of it. Not a lot, but there's occasionally guys that it's not happening. Mm. So the longer that you sit, you hang on and look and stare and contemplate the chances of you falling off, it doesn't get any better. So eventually you just throw your leg over and get over that damn thing. So I think I probably just experienced it enough and was cognizant enough to recognize that at some point, oh yeah, this feeling of caution and fear and all that stuff in the back of my head, yeah, I just need to get rid of all that and just go.
It seems to go away when I move toward it.
Yeah, it does go away.
I imagine it's all well and good saying good decisions beget good decisions. You've got this infinite domino tumble that helps you to keep the momentum up. And yes, it is your responsibility to deal with the repercussions of the decisions that you've made, including the string of bad ones for the last quite a long time, if that's the situation that you're in. But it's not particularly reassuring or comforting, I don't think, to somebody who's in the So what would you say to someone who's going through a bad month or a string of bad months and doesn't see any light at the end of the tunnel?
What are your options? Okay, you're upside down financially, relationship went south, you got whatever those things are, your credit card debt is up, you got fired from your job. Okay, you're in a terrible situation. What are your options? What you have to do is, you kind of have to prioritize and execute, right? Okay, I got all these bad things going on in my life. What is my biggest problem right now? And you got to say, okay, I got to start with solving that problem. And you got to start to take action. You got to take action and move forward. And if you don't, the downward spiral doesn't end. And if you allow it to continue to go down, that's where it's going to end up. And so you just have to, what are my options? Abandon the whole thing? No, that's not the option. That is not the option.
How do you deal with the tension of feeling that other thing pull away from you, right? You know that you need to focus, and you know that by focusing on one thing, another thing is going to start to drop away. But the classic overachiever mindset is, everything needs to be growing at all times. So there's an emotional pain at watching something stagnate or watching something fall behind. How do you try and navigate that?
You just have to figure out what the priority is. And at certain times, certain things might be a higher priority right now than it is at some other point, and something else picks up, and sometimes the family needs to be the priority, sometimes the business, sometimes the other business, sometimes the health. You're just going to have to weigh those things out and recognize that you can't do them all simultaneously at the same time all the time. It's not going to work. So you got to figure out where you're going to make some compromises, where you're going to make some trade-offs.
What do most people misunderstand about discipline equals freedom?
If you give up a little bit today, like you can't get it back. Like if you skip a workout today, there's no possible way to get that back. When you let something go, it's gone. Rome wasn't built in a day, but Rome didn't fall apart on a day either. It didn't fall apart because of one thing. It falls apart just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, nobody gets fit overnight, and nobody gets fat overnight. Either.
Exactly. You can't submit. You can't submit. You have to get in there and keep it going. And I know the results of not doing the thing are not good. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing these things. I enjoy working out. Do I enjoy working out every single day? No. And that's when it's like, oh yeah, but I know the results of the long run. I don't know. I think it was pretty simple to understand.
I agree, but it's with simplicity comes an awful lot of opportunity for people to.
Yeah. I guess there's always people that, you know, as they're trying to fish for a contrarian thing to say, which I think you kind of have to fish for it. I think you have to work for it to get with that statement.
I kind of get the sense as well with that story about not wanting to go to the gym. I do think that that's the difference between discipline and motivation. Motivation. I didn't want to do the thing. Discipline. I did the thing in spite of not wanting to do the thing.
Look, I've said many times, you can't count on motivation. Like it's not going to be there for you.
Yeah.
Or it may, but it may not be. And
It's lovely when it comes along.
If you wait for it to be there, you might be waiting more than you should. When we deployed to Iraq in 2006, we'd been fighting since 2003, and we'd had very few casualties in the SEAL teams. The amount of guys that had experienced their teammates killed in action was minuscule. And so there was no preparation other than what I had taken away from reading about combat for my whole life. What I did was what I knew how to do, which was work. And that's literally what I told my guys was, we've crossed a line, and there's no possible way to replace or describe or overcome the amount of just heart-wrenching sadness that you feel when you lose a teammate. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to say.
First time, second time, third time.
Irrelevant, what time?
What I did was, and I told my guys, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. The only thing that I know to do is to go back to work. And I do know this, if Mark was here, he would want us to go back to work. And so we're gonna lock and load our weapons, and we're gonna go do what we do. In World War II, in World War I, there would be days where thousands upon thousands were killed. And so that offered me a small bit of perspective to think to myself that human beings, we can feel like we're special, and we can feel like no one's ever been through what I've been through, and the world is hard for me and easier for everyone else. Well, the reality is that's not true, and we're not special. And the things that people go through, other people have gone through, most likely much, much worse and much more significant. So that, to me, was it gave me at least some level of perspective to realize that other warriors had gone through this before. This was my turn, and this is how I'm gonna try and handle it. I've got that going on, and I need to control it. So when people start getting emotional, when guys get killed, how do I get control over that? Yeah, I absolutely have to control my own emotions, because it's your guys. And believe me, when you lose one of your guys, you want to kill everyone. And you know you can't, and you know you shouldn't. So you have to detach from your emotions, you have to get control of them, and you have to make sure that you lead your men in the right direction so they don't do something that is not the right thing to do. One of my answers for people, when they say, hey, how can I get better at detaching and controlling my emotions, I tell them to start training jiu-jitsu. Because you're gonna get tapped out in jiu-jitsu. Your ego is gonna get smacked around so hard, you're gonna lose your mind. And the madder you get, the more aggressive you are, the more you're gonna get beat down, and the worse it's gonna be. So you have to learn to control your emotions.
No doubt about it. And then what you have to do is you have to start practicing it all the time. You have to start paying attention to the red flags that go up when I start raising my voice at you. I go, oh, that's your emotion. Get mad. And for me, like the minute I feel some sort of anger, some sort of jealousy, some sort of frustration, most of the time I go, oh, you're getting mad, that's your ego. You're getting emotional about this. Take a step back and listen to what the other person's saying. Take a step back and try and see it from their perspective. Take a step back and try and understand what they're trying to say. Because sometimes, if you're not a very articulate person, you're just making me mad. It's only because I don't understand what you're trying to say. Take a step back. Let's talk through it. So pay attention to, I always talk about when you're sending an email to someone and you're typing like this, don't send that email. That's not a good email to send. That's an emotional email. Wait, write it out, fine, and then save it and read it later, and you'll realize, oh yeah, I was really mad about something, or I was really frustrated. So how do you do it? You practice it. You pay attention to your emotions and you get control over them.
Can you teach that? Let's go. We're gonna jump back in the water, let's go.
I think that's one of the few things that you learn in basic SEAL training is to shrug your shoulders and go forward. What you learn to do is, okay, I'm gonna go forward. I can't get out of this. I'm gonna go forward. I'm not gonna quit, so I'm gonna go forward. Bring it on. So if you lack the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up being a slave to disease. If you lack the discipline to work hard, save your money, you will end up a slave to finances. If you lack the discipline to manage your time correctly, you will end up with no free time. If you have self-discipline, if you have the discipline to save your money and work hard and invest your money properly, if you have the discipline to manage your time correctly and not waste a bunch of time, if you have the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you will end up with freedom.
You've got to be aggressive to make things happen. I mean, if you're not aggressive with things, they don't happen, they don't move. So you're always learning and growing, and I was always learning until the day I retired.
And people can actually confront the fact that this is all because of me, and it hurts, but is also unbelievably empowering, because if these problems are because of me, then I'm capable of fixing these problems. So even though extreme ownership hurts and is painful, it's also liberating, because now you have control over your fate and over your destiny, and that is a glorious thing. I'm not saying take your emotions out of the calculus, but they have to be one component of your calculus, not the whole equation. The equation has to include emotions, yes. Logic, yes. Future, yes. Goals, yes. Family, yes. Work, yes. Finances, yes. All those things have to be in the calculus. Emotions has to be a part of that calculus. You can't pull them out of there or they'll bite you. But you can't make them the overwhelming denominator of everything that you do, or it's going to be problematic. Extreme ownership is, this went wrong, this failed, didn't accomplish this, and it's not the fault of my boss, it's not the fault of my girlfriend, it's not the fault of my parents, it's not the fault of the weather, it's my fault. And I'm gonna take ownership of it, and I'm gonna fix it. That's what extreme ownership is. And this is a very difficult thing to do because it hurts. Because when you look around at your life, and you look around at your job and your financial situation and your relationship and your physical health, and when you look at all those things and all the problems that you may have with those things, and you say, the reason I have all those problems is because of me, that can hurt. That can sting. And a lot of times our ego rejects that and makes excuses and lies. And then we don't have to change anything. And then nothing changes. So again, I would love to be able to, give you this profound anchor that people need to have. But it's like, oh, do you want to do this or not? Which is what I think a lot of it boils down to. Do you actually want to do this or not? Do you actually want to do this or not? Because if you actually want to do it, what's going to stop you? Nothing. And if you don't really want to do it, what's going to stop you? Just about anything that comes up. Just about any obstacle that gets in your way becomes an excuse. It becomes a reason. It becomes a rationale for not proceeding down that path.